My name's Josh Geiger, and I'm going to do a quick overview of the Australian Aborigines, while switching things up a bit from my original presentation in class. The Australian Aborigines are indigenous to Australia, however, they weren't always there. In class, I noted that they had come over from Asia some 30 to 40,000 years ago, but theories out there suggest that they came to Asia from Africa. There are approximately 600 different groups of Aborigines in Australia, but they are all united in their belief of ancestors, which I'll get to in a bit when I discuss the Dreamtime. But first, let's glimpse at the instruments quickly. The majority of Aboriginal instruments are ideograms, meaning that two items are being struck together. However, of the four instruments I'm going to show, only two of them could be classified as ideograms, and that would be the clapsticks and emu collar. The boomerang clapsticks, as suggested by their shape, are shaped like boomerangs, and they are struck together in order to create a sound much like this. The bull roarer consists of a piece of wood with a string attached to it. It gets swung in a wide arcing motion to produce sound. In an emu collar, one hand claps over the end of a cylindrical tube in order to produce a sound. Lastly, the didgeridoo, which is probably the most famous Aboriginal instrument, is their version of the drone. In order to create different sounds with this instrument, all you have to do is simply alter the shape of your tongue or mouth, and a variety of sounds can be produced. On a side note, didgeridoos are primarily played at sunsets, funerals, and even circumcisions. During my in-class presentation, I didn't go as in-depth with the Dreamtime as I would have liked, so I'll hit on a few key aspects at this time. The Dreamtime is an extremely interesting aspect when discussing Aboriginal culture, because the Dreamtime is equivalent to our Big Bang Theory. To Aborigines, Earth began as a flat mass, but over time creatures began to rise from the ground and help shape Earth. Also, Aboriginal legend describes these animals as an explanation for certain human traits. There is an extremely large amount of creatures to discuss, but for the sake of time, I'll only focus on a few of them. The wombats, magpies, Grookman the frog, Moola the swan, and a brief explanation about how fish came to be. Everything begins with the sun and moon, though. The sun is female, presumably because the sun creates, while the moon is male. At the beginning of the Dreamtime, there was a mass of low clouds. There was a struggle for food, and the wombat didn't settle well with him. He didn't want to fight for food or get pushed around by all the other animals, so he dug himself a hole and learned to sleep for long periods of time. Then there were the magpies. The magpies, they learned to push the clouds up, and once they succeeded in raising them high enough, there was an explosion and the sun shone through. Overjoyed, the magpies began to sing at their accomplishment. Now, symbolizing certain human characteristics, there was Grookman the frog, and he symbolizes greed because he drank all the water on the animals, so they suffered without water. until they were able to get it out of him by forcing him to climb to the highest mountain. Then Mula the pelican symbolizes selfishness. Pelicans used to be all black, but Mula had a boat, but he wouldn't let anyone else use it. Then one day he was tricked. He became angry at the people who tricked him, so he covered his body with white war paint. All the other pelicans copied this because they idolized him, which is why their plumage is black and white today. In turn, kangaroos were brought to the Aborigines by a storm, and fish were created by Mayalk and Uni. Mayalk and Uni were two young kids who fell in love, but they broke the rules of their tribe, so they ran to the water, where they ended up fighting their tribe with spears. Eventually, they ran out of spears, so they jumped into the water and turned into fish. The fish they morphed into are called barramundi fish. They have spines on their back, which symbolize the spears that were used that day. Also, the spears serve as reminders, telling fish not to go on land because of the danger that took place up there. At the end, I'm going to try insert a video of the Aboriginal kangaroo dance that occurs during the dream time. But if I'm not able to do that, I'll provide a link for that video as well as all the sound recordings that I shown earlier. Overall, I wanted to go more in depth about the dream time to highlight their culture a bit more. I hope I was able to enlighten you more about the dream time. Thank you for your time.